Elena Reyes had learned silence on stations where noise meant discovery, and discovery meant death. Now, standing in the center ring of the Interstellar Defense Academy's main arena with 800 alien cadets watching from tiered seats, she understood that silence could also mean victory. The Korvan champion Thraxx, a hulking predator whose species had never lost a combat trial in the Academy's 40-year history, circled her with claws extended, his twin hearts hammering audibly through reinforced plating. The human girl from Sector 9 didn't flinch. She simply waited, her breath steady, her weight distributed like water about to shift. In 3 seconds, the laughter would stop. The shuttle from Earth's outer colonies had smelled like recycled air and regret. Elena sat in the back row, her duffel bag pressed against her knees, watching the other cadets, sleek Avari with iridescent feathers, hulking Korvans with obsidian carapaces, slender Tellurians whose limbs seemed to bend in impossible directions. None of them looked at her. She was used to that. The Academy hung in geostationary orbit above Viridian Prime, a glittering ring station large enough to house 20,000 souls. Through the viewport, Elena watched it grow from a pinprick to a cathedral of steel and light. Her hands tightened on the strap of her bag. Inside were 3 jumpsuits, a data pad with her acceptance letter, and a flat disk the size of her palm, the only thing she'd taken from her mother's quarters after the bombardment. She hadn't opened it yet. The docking bay buzzed with activity. Cadets streamed out in clusters, their languages blending into a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones. Elena stepped onto the deck and felt the gravity shift, 0.95 standard, just enough to notice. A Tellurian liaison with silver markings along her elongated neck held up a hollow display. First years to Orientation Hall. Follow the blue line. Elena followed. The corridor stretched wide enough for cargo haulers, its walls lined with memorial plaques bearing names in a dozen scripts. She read them as she walked, casualties from the Andromeda conflict, the Keth incursion, the trade wars. Her own father's name wasn't there. He'd died on a mining rig, not a battlefield, but the weight felt the same. Orientation Hall could seat 1,000. Elena found a spot near the back, away from the clusters of cadets already forming alliances. She watched them laugh, clasp forearms, trade comm codes. A group of Korvans dominated the center rows, their carapaces gleaming under the overhead lights. One of them, a male with crimson accents along his jaw, turned and spotted her. His eyes narrowed. He nudged his companion, and both of them stared. The headmaster, a Viridian named Administrator Kale, took the stage. His skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, shifting with each syllable. "You are the finest this galaxy has to offer," he said, his voice amplified through neural implants. "But talent means nothing without discipline. Over the next 4 cycles, you will learn what it means to serve, to sacrifice, to survive." Elena barely heard him. She was watching the Korvans. The one with the crimson jaw had leaned over to whisper something to a third cadet, a smaller male with bronze plating. They both looked at her. She met their gaze without blinking. After a moment, they turned away. The first meal in the communal hall was a test in itself. Long tables stretched across the room, each seating 30 cadets. Elena carried her tray, protein paste, nutrient cubes, a greenish liquid that tasted like copper, to an empty spot near the wall. She ate quickly, methodically, the way she'd learned on the colony. Don't linger, don't make yourself a target. A shadow fell across her table. She looked up. The Korvan with the crimson jaw stood there, flanked by 2 others. Up close, he was even larger, nearly 7 feet, his exoskeleton carved with ritual scars. "Human," he said. His voice was a low rumble, like rocks grinding together. "You're in my seat." Elena glanced around. Every other table had empty spots. "No, I'm not." His mandibles clicked, a Korvan laugh. "I say you are." She set down her fork slowly. The hall had gone quiet. Hundreds of eyes watched. Elena stood, lifting her tray. "Fine." She walked to another table. The Korvan's laughter followed her, joined by his companions. It echoed off the high ceiling, a sound designed to humiliate. Elena didn't look back. She finished her meal in silence, her jaw tight, her pulse steady. When she returned her tray, she noticed a small Avari cadet watching her from across the room. The Avari's feathers were midnight blue, and her eyes, large, amber, intelligent, held something Elena recognized. Sympathy, or maybe pity. The barracks were gender-neutral and species-agnostic, divided into pods of 6. Elena's pod included 2 Tellurians, an Avari, a Viridian, and a Korvan, not one of the bullies, thankfully, but a female with jade-green plating who introduced herself as Wreath and then ignored Elena completely. The Tellurians, Seth and Vira, spoke in hushed harmonics that Elena's translator couldn't quite parse. The Avari Kira, the one from the hall, offered a tentative smile. "First time off-world?" Kira asked, her voice melodic. "No," Elena said. She didn't elaborate. "Me too. Well, first time this far, my flock sent me. Big honor." Kira's feathers ruffled nervously. "You're from Earth, Titan Station." "Outer colonies?" "Oh," Kira hesitated. "I heard about Titan. The raids." Elena turned to her locker, began unpacking. "Yeah." The silence stretched. Finally, Kira said, "If you need anything, I don't." That night, Elena lay in her bunk and stared at the ceiling. The pod's lights dimmed to simulate night cycles, but sleep didn't come. She thought about the Korvan's laughter, the way it had cut through the hall like a blade. She thought about her mother's last transmission crackling through the static, "Don't let them make you small, Mija." And she thought about the disc in her bag, still unopened. Tomorrow, combat trials began. The training arena occupied an entire section of the station's outer ring, a massive cylindrical space with adjustable gravity and environmental controls. Elena arrived early before the other cadets and stood at the edge of the floor. The surface was a smart polymer that could shift from solid to liquid in seconds, simulating everything from desert sand to zero-gravity drift. Overhead, a lattice of rails and platforms created a three-dimensional battlefield. Instructor Vorin, a Korvan war veteran with a missing arm replaced by a neural-linked prosthetic, addressed the assembled cadets. "Combat trials are not about winning," he said, his voice devoid of warmth. "They are about understanding your opponent's strengths, your own weaknesses, the space between life and death." He gestured to the arena. "Today you will face the training drones. Level 1. Survive for 3 minutes and you pass, fail and you repeat until you succeed." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "Or until you quit." The first cadet, a Tellurian named Korath, stepped into the ring. The drones, sleek, black, hovering spheres with retractable limbs, activated with a hum. Korath moved like liquid, his double-jointed limbs bending in ways that seemed impossible. He deflected the first drone with a spinning kick, redirected the second with a grappling maneuver, but the third caught him off guard, slamming into his ribs. He went down hard. The timer read 2 minutes, 14 seconds. "Again," Vorin said. Cadet after cadet entered the ring. Some passed, most didn't. The Korvans excelled. Their natural armor and strength gave them an edge. The Avari struggled. Their hollow bones made them fast but fragile. Elena watched everything. The way the drones moved in patterns, always attacking from predictable angles. The way they hesitated for a fraction of a second before striking. The way Vorin's eyes tracked each cadet, noting every mistake. When her name was called, Elena stepped forward. The Korvan with the crimson jaw, she'd learned his name was Thraxx, let out a derisive hiss. "The human," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This should be entertaining." Elena ignored him. She entered the ring, rolling her shoulders, testing the floor's grip. The drones circled. Vorin's voice echoed through the speakers. "Begin." The first drone came fast, limbs extended like blades. Elena sidestepped, letting it overshoot, and drove her elbow into its central processor. It sparked and fell. The second drone adjusted, coming low. She jumped, twisted midair, and brought her heel down on its top hemisphere. It crumpled. The third drone was smarter. It feinted left, then struck right. Elena read the shift in its trajectory, ducked under the swing, and grabbed one of its limbs. She used its own momentum to spin it into the floor. The impact shattered its casing. 3 minutes, 0 seconds. The arena went silent. Vorin's mandibles clicked once, a sound of approval. "Pass." Elena walked off the floor. She didn't look at Thraxx. She didn't need to. She could feel his glare like heat on her back. In the mess hall that evening, Kira saved her a seat. "That was incredible," the Avari said, her feathers shimmering with excitement. "I've never seen anyone move like that. Where'd you learn to fight?" "Titan Station," Elena said. She didn't elaborate. Kira tilted her head. "They train pilots there. They train survivors." A tray slammed down next to Elena. She looked up. Thraxx loomed over her, flanked by his 2 companions. "Lucky," he said. "The drones were slow." Elena took a bite of her protein cube. "Maybe you're just slower." His mandibles flared. The hall's ambient noise dropped. Cadets turned to watch. Thraxx leaned down, his breath hot and sulfuric. You think you're clever, human? You think one trial makes you special? Elena set down her fork. She met his eyes, black, unblinking, predatory. I think you're standing in my light. For a moment, she thought he might strike her. His claws twitched and the muscles beneath his carapace coiled, but Wreath, the female Korvan from her pod, stepped between them. Thraxx, she said quietly. Enough. He hesitated, then straightened. Watch yourself, human, he said. Next time you won't have anyone to hide behind. When he left, Kira exhaled sharply. He's the Academy champion, she whispered. Undefeated in single combat for 2 years. Good for him, Elena said. She resumed eating. That night, she finally opened the disc. It projected a hollow image of her mother, Sergeant Elena Reyes, in full uniform, her face gaunt but steady. The message was brief. Mija, if you're seeing this, I'm gone. I wanted to tell you something I should have said a long time ago. You're stronger than you think. Not because of what you've survived, because of what you choose to do next. Don't let them make you small. Ammo. Elena watched it 3 times, then she saved it and turned off the hollow. Her hands were steady, her eyes were dry. But something inside her, a knot she hadn't known was there, loosened just a little. The next morning, combat trials moved to zero-gravity simulations. Zero-gravity combat was a different language. On Titan Station, Elena had spent years navigating the outer hull, repairing panels during attacks, moving through the vacuum with nothing but mag boots and instinct. The Academy simulation dome replicated those conditions perfectly, no up or down, no friction, just momentum and precision. Voron's instructions were simple: disable your opponent. First strike wins. The cadets paired off. Elena drew a Viridian named Sola, a slender male with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed nervously. He was strong in standard gravity, but in zero-G he flailed, unable to adapt. Elena used his momentum against him, redirecting his strikes with minimal effort. When he overextended, she caught his wrist, twisted, and locked him in place. The match lasted 18 seconds. She won her next 3 matches the same way: economical, silent, efficient. By the end of the session, cadets had stopped pairing with her voluntarily. Voron assigned her to a Korvan named Thraxx, a mid-tier fighter with bronze plating. He lasted 42 seconds. Thraxx watched from the observation deck. He didn't participate, champions were exempt from standard drills, but his eyes never left Elena. After the session, as cadets filed out, Voron called her name. Cadet Reyes, a word. She approached. Up close, his prosthetic arm hummed faintly, the servos adjusting with micro-movements. You have training, he said. It wasn't a question. Survival training, Elena said. Call it what you like, you move like someone who's fought for real. His gaze was sharp, assessing. How many combat engagements? I stopped counting at 12. Voron's mandibles clicked softly. The others see you as an outsider, Thraxx especially. He views your success as a challenge to his status. That's his problem. It becomes yours when he makes it so. Voron leaned closer. The Academy allows sanctioned duels. If Thraxx challenges you, you can refuse, but refusal is noted on your record. It will follow you. Elena's jaw tightened. If he challenges me, I'll accept. Voron studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Good, make sure you win. The challenge came 2 days later during a tactical simulation in the war room. The cadets were divided into squads, each tasked with capturing a fortified position. Elena's squad included Kira, Wreath, and 2 Tellurians. They moved efficiently, using Kira's aerial reconnaissance and Wreath's strength to breach the defenses. They won in record time. Thraxx's squad lost. In the debriefing, Voron highlighted Elena's tactical decisions, her use of terrain, her delegation of roles. Thraxx sat in the back row, his claws scoring grooves into the armrest. When the session ended, he stepped into the corridor ahead of Elena, blocking her path. You think you're better than me, he said. His voice was low, dangerous. I think I'm better at tactics, Elena said. His mandibles flared. Then prove it. Tomorrow, main arena, single combat, no rules, first to yield or fall. The corridor had filled with cadets. They pressed in, a silent audience. Elena glanced at Kira, who shook her head frantically. She looked at Wreath, whose expression was unreadable. Then she looked back at Thraxx. Fine, she said. Tomorrow. The crowd erupted. Cadets shouted bets, argued odds, recorded the exchange on their data pads. Thraxx's grin was savage. I'll enjoy this, human. Elena didn't respond. She walked past him through the crowd, back to her pod. Kira followed, her feathers trembling. Elena, he'll kill you. He's trained his whole life for this. I know what he is, Elena said. She sat on her bunk, began lacing her boots. I also know what I am. And what's that? Elena looked up. Her eyes were calm, steady, ancient, someone who doesn't lose. That night, she didn't sleep. She ran through scenarios in her mind, mapping Thraxx's likely moves, his aggression, his reliance on strength, the way he telegraphed his strikes with microshifts in his stance. She thought about her mother's message. Don't let them make you small, and she thought about the laughter in the mess hall, the way it had echoed. Tomorrow, it would stop. At dawn, she went to the training arena alone. The space was empty, the lights dim. She stood in the center ring and closed her eyes, feeling the station's rotation beneath her feet, the hum of the environmental systems, the distant thrum of the engines. This was her gravity, her center, and no one, no bully, no champion could take it from her. When she opened her eyes, Vorin was standing at the edge of the ring. He didn't speak. He just nodded once, then left. The main arena filled by midday. Word had spread through the academy like wildfire. Human cadet versus Korvan champion, no restrictions, first to yield. 800 cadets packed the tiered seats, their voices a roar of anticipation. Bets were placed. Alliances formed. The air crackled with electric tension. Elena entered through the lower access tunnel. She wore standard training gear, lightweight, flexible gray, no armor, no weapons, just herself. Kira met her at the entrance, her feathers slicked back with worry. You don't have to do this, she said. You can forfeit. No one will. They'll think I'm afraid, Elena said. Who cares what they think? Elena smiled faintly. I do. She stepped into the ring. The crowd's roar swelled, then fractured, some cheering, some jeering, most simply stunned that the human had shown up. Across the arena, Thraxx emerged from the opposite tunnel. He wore ceremonial plating, crimson and black, etched with kill marks from his homeworld. He raised his arms, and the Korvan cadets erupted in a war chant, a guttural rhythm that shook the seats. Vorin stood at the center, his prosthetic arm raised for silence. This is a sanctioned duel, he announced, his voice amplified. No lethality, no permanent maiming. First to yield or render their opponent unable to continue is the victor. He looked at Elena, then at Thraxx. Understood, understood, Thraxx said. Elena nodded. Vorin stepped back. Begin. Thraxx moved first, closing the distance with terrifying speed. He was fast, faster than Elena had expected, and his first strike was a clawed swipe aimed at her ribs. She twisted, felt the air displace as his claws whistled past. He followed with a low sweep, trying to take her legs. She jumped, landed light, circled. The crowd roared. Thraxx grinned. Running already? Elena didn't respond. She watched his feet, his shoulders, the way his weight shifted before each strike. He attacked again, a feint high, then a real strike low. She read it, sidestepped, and delivered a sharp kick to his knee joint. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but his balance wavered. She pressed, driving a fist into the soft tissue beneath his jaw. He staggered, mandibles clicking in surprise, then his expression darkened. He roared, a sound that rattled the arena, and charged. This time he didn't hold back. His strikes came fast and brutal, each one designed to crush. Elena gave ground, deflecting, redirecting, waiting. She was faster, but he was stronger. One hit would end her. Thraxx feinted left, struck right. Elena dodged, but his follow-up caught her shoulder. She spun, hit the floor, rolled. Pain flared sharp, white-hot. She forced herself up. Thraxx stalked toward her, his grin feral. You're good, human, but not good enough. Elena's breath came hard. She could feel the crowd's energy, the weight of their eyes. She thought about Titan Station, about the silence between bombardments, about learning to move without sound. She thought about her mother's voice. You're stronger than you think. Thraxx lunged. Elena didn't retreat. She stepped inside his reach, and drove her palm into the nerve cluster beneath his carapace. He froze, his nervous system short-circuiting. In that half-second, she hooked her leg behind his, used his momentum, and threw him. He hit the floor hard. The crowd went silent. Elena stood over him, breathing hard, her shoulder throbbing. Thraxx tried to rise, but his limbs wouldn't respond. His eyes blazed with fury and something else, disbelief. She leaned down, her voice quiet, meant only for him. Yield. For a moment she thought he wouldn't. Then slowly he lowered his head. Yield. The arena erupted. Cadets screamed, cheered, shouted in disbelief. Kira was jumping, her feathers flashing. Wreath stood with her arms crossed, a faint smile on her face. Even the Korvans, after a stunned silence, began to roar, not in anger but in respect. Vorin stepped into the ring, his prosthetic hand extended. Elena took it. He raised her arm. Victor, Cadet Reyes. The sound was deafening. That night, Elena sat alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Her shoulder ached, but the medics had cleared her, bruised, not broken. She pressed her forehead against the glass, feeling the stations hum beneath her skin. Footsteps echoed behind her. She turned. Thraxx stood in the doorway, his armor removed, his carapace bare. Without the plating, he looked smaller, almost vulnerable. He approached slowly, stopped a few feet away. "I underestimated you," he said. Elena waited. "I thought you were weak, soft, human." He paused. "I was wrong." "Yeah," Elena said, "you were." He didn't flinch. "My people respect strength. You have it." I apologize." Elena studied him. The sincerity in his voice was real, grudging but real. "Apology accepted," she said. "Don't do it again." He inclined his head. Then after a moment he extended his claw. Elena clasped it. His grip was firm, careful. "You fight like a Korvan," he said. "I fight like a survivor," Elena said. He smiled, a rare expression for his kind. "Same thing." When he left, Elena turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, Titan Station orbited in the dark, its scars invisible from this distance. She thought about her mother, about the disk, about the message. "Don't let them make you small." She hadn't, and she never would. The weeks that followed reshaped the Academy's social structure in subtle, unspoken ways. Elena didn't suddenly become popular, she wasn't built for that, but the whispers in the corridors changed tone. Cadets nodded when she passed. A few even asked her to join study groups or training sessions. She declined most, but accepted some. Kira remained her closest ally, the Avari's optimism a strange counterbalance to Elena's quiet intensity. Reith, too, began to speak more freely, her initial distance replaced by something approaching camaraderie. Thraxx kept his distance, but his demeanor shifted. He no longer mocked. When their paths crossed in the training arena, he inclined his head in acknowledgement. Once, during a group exercise, he even corrected a cadet who made a disparaging comment about humans. The cadet fell silent immediately. Combat trials evolved into complex simulations, multi-stage operations requiring coordination across species and skill sets. Elena found herself assigned as squad leader more often than not. She delegated efficiently, using each cadet's strengths without favoritism. During one mission, a hostage extraction in a zero-gravity environment, her squad completed the objective in half the projected time. Voron's debriefing was terse but approving, textbook execution. In the mess hall, the long tables began to blur. Korvan sat with Tellurians. Avari shared trays with Viridians. Elena still gravitated toward quieter corners, but she no longer ate alone. Kira insisted on sitting beside her, chattering about flight simulations and her dreams of piloting deep space reconnaissance missions. Reith joined them occasionally, her dry humor punctuating Kira's enthusiasm. One evening, as the three of them finished their meal, a young Korvan cadet, barely past his first molt, approached hesitantly. "Cadet Reyes," he said, his voice uncertain. I wanted to ask, how do you stay so calm?" "During combat, I freeze up every time." Elena set down her cup. She studied the cadet, his posture hunched, his eyes downcast. She recognized that fear. She'd warned it herself once. "You don't stay calm," she said. "You just don't let the fear make your decisions." "But how?" "You breathe, you focus on one thing, your next move, your objective, and you trust your training." The cadet nodded slowly. "Thank you." When he left, Kira leaned over. "You're good at that," she said. "At what?" "Helping people, teaching." Elena shrugged. "I'm just answering a question." "No," Reith said, her voice low. "You're doing more than that. You're showing them it's possible." Elena didn't respond, but later, lying in her bunk, she thought about Reith's words, about possibility. About the way small actions could ripple outward, reshaping the space around them. The Academy's annual exhibition arrived at the end of the first cycle, a public demonstration of skills for visiting dignitaries, military officials, and prospective sponsors. Each cadet would perform in their specialty. Pilots flew intricate formations. Engineers constructed emergency shelters. Medics ran triage simulations. Combat cadets faced advanced drones in live matches. Elena's assignment was straightforward, a 3-minute zero-gravity combat demonstration against level 5 drones, faster, smarter, adaptive. She trained for weeks, refining her movements, eliminating wasted energy. Voron observed her final practice session, his mandibles clicking in approval. "You're ready," he said. The exhibition hall was enormous, its dome transparent to the stars beyond. Dignitaries filled the viewing platforms, their conversations a low hum. Elena stood backstage with the other combat cadets, her pulse steady. Thraxx was scheduled before her. She watched on a monitor as he entered the ring, his movements powerful and precise. He dismantled 4 drones in 2 minutes, 40 seconds. The audience applauded. He bowed, his expression neutral, then exited. When Elena's name was called, she stepped into the light. The drones activated sleek black, their sensors glowing red. The timer began. She moved without thought, her body a language of angles and momentum. The first drone struck high, she ducked, twisted, drove her elbow into its core. The second came from behind. She used the first drone's falling body as a springboard, launched herself upward, and kicked the second into a support beam. The third and fourth attacked in tandem. She redirected their trajectories, let them collide, then finished them both with rapid strikes. The timer read 1 minute 58 seconds. The audience erupted in applause. Elena landed, steadied herself, and walked off. Backstage, Kira practically tackled her. "That was insane," the Avari shrieked. "You didn't even look like you were trying." "I was trying," Elena said, but she smiled. Thraxx approached, his expression serious. He extended his claw. "Well done, Reyes." She clasped it. "You too." After the exhibition, a reception was held in the Grand Hall. Cadets mingled with dignitaries, exchanging pleasantries and career prospects. Elena stood near the observation windows, watching the stars. A human official, a lieutenant commander with graying temples and a chest full of medals, approached. "Cadet Reyes," she turned. "Sir, I saw your demonstration. Impressive. Where'd you serve before the academy?" "I didn't. Titan Station, outer colonies." His expression shifted, recognition, then respect. "Titan. Hell of a place to grow up." "Yes, sir." "You planning to go into tactical command?" Elena hesitated. She hadn't thought that far ahead. "I don't know yet." "Well, when you decide, look me up. We need people who can think under pressure." He handed her a data chip. "My contact info, don't lose it." When he left, Elena stared at the chip. Kira appeared at her elbow. "What was that about?" "I think I just got recruited." Kira's eyes widened. "That's amazing." Elena slipped the chip into her pocket. "Maybe." The first cycle ended with a formal ceremony. Cadets received their ratings, performance metrics in combat, tactics, engineering, and teamwork. Elena ranked in the top 5% overall, first in combat applications. Thraxx ranked second. When Administrator Kale called their names to the stage, the applause was thunderous. Standing beside Thraxx, looking out at the assembled cadets, Elena felt something unfamiliar, not pride exactly, more like belonging. For the first time since leaving Titan Station, she wasn't alone. After the ceremony, she returned to her pod. The disc sat on her bunk, its surface gleaming. She activated it once more, watched her mother's message. "Don't let them make you small." She smiled, her eyes damp but clear. "I didn't, Mama," she whispered. "I promise." That night, the cadets gathered in the recreation hall for an informal celebration. Music played, a blend of species, rhythms, and tones. Elena stood at the edge, watching. Kira dragged her onto the floor, insisting she dance. Elena protested, laughing, but eventually relented. She moved awkwardly at first, then found the rhythm. Reith joined them, her movements surprisingly fluid. Even Thraxx appeared, his massive frame swaying to the beat. Hours later, as the crowd thinned, Elena stepped outside onto the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of light and darkness. She thought about the girl who'd arrived weeks ago, silent, guarded, carrying her grief like armor. That girl was still there, but she wasn't the whole story anymore. Footsteps approached. Voran stood beside her, his prosthetic arm resting on the railing. "You've come far, Cadet Reyes." "Thank you, sir." "But the real test isn't here, it's what comes after." He glanced at her. "When you leave this place, the galaxy will expect you to prove yourself all over again, every day. Are you ready for that?" Elena looked out at the stars. She thought about Titan Station, about her mother's voice, about the Korvan champion who'd learned to respect her. "Yes, sir," she said. "I am." Voran nodded. "Good, because the galaxy needs more people like you." When he left, Elena stayed. The station rotated slowly, carrying her through the dark. She closed her eyes and felt the hum beneath her feet, the engine's heartbeat, the station's pulse. This was her gravity, her center, and wherever the stars took her next, she would carry it with her. The laughter had stopped. But her story was just beginning.